human resource department, are they your friend or are they your foe? More about that on the HR Czar. Most companies have human resource departments. The human resource department is responsible for the hiring, the firing, benefits, wages, training, workers' comp, safety, any number of things revolving around the employee, you. But I've had a number of people ask me, I feel really uncomfortable going to my HR department. I don't think they're in my corner. Well, they're not. You have to remember the human resource department, the people that work there, while they care about people, they're paid by the employer. I'm just telling you this straight and honest. Anybody tells you different, it's lying. Their first responsibility is to the employer and the assets and the protection of the assets of the employer. If they're not doing their job. Now that doesn't mean that if the employer is doing something illegal or immoral or whatever, that the HR department covers it up. They operate somewhat as an ombudsman where they help people with their issues and they try to get a resolution, but in the terms of helping the company. Therefore, if an employee comes to you and goes, I'm going to sue the company, and you're like, well, why? They give you the reasons why. Well, have you tried talking to anybody about that? No. Well, let's talk about it. And they still want to sue. Now, when you get to court, and I've been to court several times as a representative for the company, I'm sitting with the employer. I'm never sitting with the employee. Make sure whatever you tell the human resource department, you can back up, that you've got documentation on it, that you're not just shooting stuff into space. They're not really there as your psychologist. A lot of people have the wrong, this is not the old 1950s personnel department where you go in and you tell them everything that's going on in your life. They have things called employee assistance programs for that, EAPs. The more you tell that HR person about your private life, the more they're storing that in their head and saying, oh, wow, he has problems with this or problems with that. Oh, okay. And you don't want to do that. Less is more. Don't confide in people. Now, I know HR people will tell you, I'm strictly confidential. I'll never tell this. Bullshit. I've seen, and I was in a multinational, multi-state company where I came in, I was brand new, I was a kid, and I would go around with the district managers, and I was like, why won't anybody talk to me? And they said, well, because the last HR person, whenever he or she saw something bad, they constantly would call the corporate office in Boston and say, I saw this happened, that happened. And then the corporate office would come back and boom, come down on the employee. So word got around. Don't tell HR anything, because if you do, they'll call corporate and then you'll get smacked for it. So don't trust them. So when I went around my first venture for a couple of states I was going in, no one would talk to me. Oh, you're from HR. Oh, yeah. Everything going okay? Yeah, nothing's wrong. Everything's fine. Do you have any issues or anything you want to talk about? How things going at work? How was your raise? How's your benefits? Fine, everything's fine. Everything's fine, nothing's wrong. Now that happens more than you would think. What you should tell your HR department is exactly what they need to know, which is facts. But get to know the people. Human resource departments are like anybody. They're people. Some you can trust, some you can't. So you have to feel them out for a while. Can I trust if I tell my human resource representative that this isn't going to go any further? That I can tell them in confidence and it's going to stay there. Don't just automatically assume because the person's in human resources that whatever you tell them, that they're some sort of like a priest and they can't go any further. It's a confessional and it never goes any further than that. No. If you tell them something that's hurting the company, I can guarantee you they'll be on the phone, Johnny on the spot, calling somebody and saying, hey, we got an issue. He's saying that we've got a safety concern over here. We should look into it. Bada bing, bada boom. And then the wheels start going. And then you're like, hey, I told you that in confidence. I don't want them to know that I'm the one that did that. The rest of the department will be mad at me. Measure what you say to them. I'm not saying be distrustful of them, but just like you would with any individual. HR is no different than accounting or marketing or whatever. If you tell somebody something, they are a human, and the chance for them to repeat that is great. They're not in some kind of secret society where it's all confidential. It's supposed to be, but there are some things that they can't keep confidential. If you threaten to hurt another employee, if you threaten to hurt yourself, they have to report that. If you tell them something that is a safety violation, they have to act on that. If you tell them that you have a manager who's out in the field sexually harassing people, they have to act on that. You can't say, well, no, why'd you do that? Why did you start a sexual harassment investigation? Well, you told me there was one. You told me there was a problem. I didn't want you to do anything about it. It doesn't work that way. You have to be careful about what you say to the HR department. And again, I'm not saying that all HR departments work that way, but I'm telling you, the HR department works for the company. You want to get something off your chest that's bothering you, call the EAP. The EAP has no connection. They are confidential. If you tell an HR person, the chances of them repeating it are very strong. Now, I'm going to get a lot of HR people that are going to see this video and give me a lot of heat. I'll take it because that's the way it is. HR people are people. They are not some divinity group. They are not some secret society that never spills the beans. Human resource departments are just like any other department. Sometimes you have a very strong accounting department, weak marketing. Every department's got strengths and weaknesses, just like football teams or baseball teams. Some are strong in defense, some are weak in offense. Some people have great human resource departments, some have very weak human resource departments. The company often sees only what it sees from a 10,000-foot level. So they're not seeing some of the things you're dealing with. So when you deal with the HR department, make sure that you know that they're working in your best interest and they can keep a confidence. If you feel like they cannot, then you might want to explore some other avenues. They're just people, and if you can trust them, fine, go forward. If you feel any tinge in your stomach, this is, I don't know if I should push this forward with HR, then don't. If you don't trust them, don't use them.